Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. It's NBL Overtime. Big show ahead. Connor Henry, new Adelaide 36ers coach, to join us in about 15 minutes' time. Little news getting around as we head towards free agency opening on July 1. What do we want to see? We're going to get into all of that and plenty more. And, of course, anytime you want to get involved, hashtag NBL Overtime. Liam Santa Maria, welcome to you.
Thanks, Cam. Ready to get into it?
Oh, plenty to get into. And Corey Homicide-Williams, as I welcome you into NBL Overtime. It has been a horrific, sad week coming out of the United States, and the horrible situations continue to go on. And you're a man, of course, American, and been a part of, so many people fighting this for such a long period of time. And as I welcome you in, you must be horrified how it's all playing out.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me again, guys, as always. It's heartbreaking what's going on. There's just no equality and no justice for African-American people until we are looked upon the masses as equals. We will never be treated equally. An unarmed man in custody, a black man in custody, police officers, two of them held him down, and one had his knee on his neck and choked him to death after hearing him repeatedly, I can't breathe, please. His hands was in his pocket, this officer. As he looks into the camera, knowing he's killing this man. This is not a cop, this is a murderer. It happens all too frequent. And enough is enough. And, this is an uprising. It's a revolution. And that's exactly what it is. And what's even worse is, America's burning down. There's a lot of looting and protesting going on. And those other cops haven't been charged or arrested. So just look at that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they treat us. Colin Kaepernick years ago kneeled for that. Police brutality. People spent it into their own narrative and said he doesn't care about the military and he's turning his back on his country, and they blackballed him and they changed the message. And this is exactly why he was kneeling for police brutality. And it's 2020, and look what's going on in America. 2020, and this is what's going on. So America created this issue, so they got to fix it. And until they fix it, this is what's going to continue to happen. And I believe this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Weeks ago, Ahmaud Arbery was jogging, and two police officers, white police officers, killed him. Jogging. The day before George Floyd got murdered, there was a man who is a Harvard graduate, well-educated, and a man of the community, was walking his dog in an area where you are supposed to have your dog on a leash. He simply asked a woman whose name is Amy Cooper, a white woman, to put your dog on a leash, as the rules and the signs say. She gets pissed off and calls the cops and threatens him. If you don't turn your camera off, I'm going to tell him there's an African-American man threatening my life. That's white privilege in America, and that's what's going on in the world. So, this is what's going on, and that's what we're fighting for. And until there's justice, there will be no peace.
Well said. And, I think what you said there about that's what's going on in the world, I think that's an important point to make. Like we're not immune to these issues here in Australia either. These issues of right here in our own backyard, we struggle with the problem of unequal justice and systemic racism. Indigenous Australians make up about 3% of our national population, about 28% of the prison population. And it's just not right. Number of Aboriginal deaths in custody going up each year. And, I stand with you, Corey, and with everybody standing up in this movement in the States, but also here in Australia as well. It's just abhorrent. And hopefully, as you said, you talked about the straw that broke the camel's back. I hope that this uprising can bring about the momentum to achieve real change. And I'm talking about both in the States, but also because it's so high profile on social media and across news channels across the world, hopefully there, but also across the globe. And we've seen some of that, people taking a stance and making these voices heard here in Australia. We've seen it in New Zealand. We've seen some NBL players, the Webster brothers and the like, getting involved. And I think as Cam and I on NBL Overtime alongside you, Corey, the entire NBL community, I think I speak on behalf of in saying that we support that movement, and we hope that we achieve that real change. Because as you say, this has been an issue for such a long time.
I mean, it's been and I appreciate it. As always, I think we all consider each other on this panel and in the office with work as one. We're a great team. We respect each other. We do things off camera with each other. We invite each other to things because we respect and appreciate each other as individuals, as human beings. And until it's like that all over the world, we got a long way to go. But I tell you this, there is an uprising right now going on in America, and change is going to come one way or another.
Very well said, Corey, and Liam as well. And as Liam did touch on, Corey, we stand with you, and we stand with so many players who, of course, are doing that right around the world right now. As you touched on, social media means there's more exposure to it, more filming of it, and it means that more people can be touched by it. And if that means it changes the opinions or the, in my opinion, the wrong opinion of certain things around the world, then let's hope we're getting in the right direction. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. When we get to Conor Henry in a moment. Scott Machado. Let's start with him, because on March 10, I went through the archives. On March 10, Liam Santamaria said, don't worry about Scotty Machado. He'll be a Cairns Taipans next year and probably the year after, and maybe even the year after that. Been thrown around a little bit that, it could be the biggest deal in Cairns Taipans history, and I don't think any of us disagree with it at the time. And it looked like it was about to be announced only 48 hours ago. Now, the Cairns Taipans come out over the top and said, not yet, we're working towards it. Ongoing conversation. But, Liam, we would assume that what has continued to be spoken about the last couple of days suggests that it's all tracking, even though the signature hasn't yet been done.
Yeah. Look, as I've been saying for the past 2.5 months, I feel like it's only a matter of time. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for when the Cairns Taipans go out there with this news that they've got Scotty Machado locked up. And we know he's been staying in far North Queensland throughout the off-season for a variety of different reasons. But, he was an absolute superstar of the league last season. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back on the floor this upcoming season.
Tell you what, Homicide, I could remember him saying it. I could picture it in my mind. So I had to go through and watch every single minute of NBL Overtime to find the exact phrase so I could get the exact date, because Liam's a stickler for details, as all great journalists are. So I didn't want to make a mistake and make it March 3rd or March 17. But the news is that, it continues to heat up. And look, I think while we're excited, I think the Cairns Taipans, the organisation and their fans are probably doubly so to be able to make that announcement. But it does look like it's tracking towards the right way. And I think we're all going to be the benefit of that if he comes back.
I think it would be incredible to have him back, especially with the season that they had. We all know the most coveted position is the point guard position. So to have him back, if this thing gets signed, and I believe it's going to get signed. I mean, look at how everything else is going on in the world. Why would you not? Why not be here again? Outside of safety, but you played your best basketball, your international career here. So, hopefully he's back. It'll be great for the league, and especially great for Mike Kelly and the Taipans.
From one great point guard, a good point guard, an average point guard. We're a point guard show here, so we like to see those guys get signed first and get the cash. So when it comes to Machado, but you touched on it, and this is something we spoke with Bryce Cotton about. Continual conversation, so much uncertainty around all leagues in the world around coronavirus. We see the Euro League situation this season, as we touched on a couple of weeks ago, is off, meant to start in October. But there's so much uncertainty. We see Isaac Fotu, who is someone we want to see playing for the Breakers next year, opting out and not going back to Italy or to the team he was at. We are going to see the possibility of some incredible players, not just the ones who have opted out, but ones who have been plying their trades internationally with the uncertainty around it, come home, a little safer, at least from a health situation right now. We could see some of these guys put their hand up towards July 1 and over the off-season.
Yeah, I think so. It's very interesting to keep an eye on what's going on over there. As you say, we saw that the EuroLeague made the decision to cancel the rest of this 2019-2020 season. The players get paid 80% of their salary, which I understand. And it was, I mean, if that had a tip the other way, the players didn't want to play
at all.
Obviously. They had a tip the other way. That would have put a lot of noses out of joint for a lot of players, a lot of imports being forced to play in that situation. That didn't happen. But now the attention turns to what's going on in the domestic leagues over there. You see Scotty Wilbekin on social media, that the Israeli leagues, he's obviously with Maccabi Tel Aviv. They're looking to get going. And there's a lot of players not happy about that. Not feeling like they're having their health and safety put at the top of the table. So what impact that has, if a player becomes discontent with where they're at and with how those leagues are operating, what flow-on effect that has, it'll be interesting to see.
You've been in this situation, Homicide, and the European playing market can sometimes be volatile or uncertain in its best times anyway, of being promised certain cash and then not getting it, or being whatever it might be. So there's always that air of caution you have to probably show in normal years. Now in this situation, when you add health and safety to it, the financial situation around these leagues as well, how much, if you're a pro right now, are you sitting there, are you thinking, you know what, Australia's the best place. Even if I don't live there yet, it's the best place maybe to try and find a game.
If I am a player that's played in the NBL currently, and I have an opportunity to come back and play in the NBL after opting out, understanding the market, the lay of the land, and my potential chances of signing in another country, it's slimmer and slimmer as the day goes on, because there's certain countries that's not going to be operating. I can tell you right now, in my mind, Europe is going to be a wrap. No one's not going to want to play over there. You're going to want to play where it's safe for less money. Because if you're that good, you're going to sign a one-year deal and go play somewhere else or finish up at the end of the year. So why not go someplace for less, that's a quality league, and you're still active? Why not? That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So why not do it?
I think the interesting ones, Cam, are going to be not necessarily those established guys, who have put the work on the floor enough where the pay packet over there is enormous. And it's going to get paid either way. You can talk about Shane Larkin. We talked about Scotty Wilbekin before. Not necessarily those guys, but the guys maybe coming fresh out of college, 1 year out, who we otherwise would have missed out on because they would have taken some extra cash in Europe. We'll look at the situation here and go, do you know what? I want to do what Jae'Sean Tate did last season. And we're going to see players follow that model anyway. We've seen it before. But I think, what he did last year, all NBL first team, considerable NBA interest on the back of what he did. We were going to see that anyway. But I think there's those kind of players, we're going to see that a little bit more.
It's funny you should say that about Jae'Sean Tate, because I think there might have been a couple of NBA teams maybe just touching base with, a mutual friend of ours. I'm looking at you, by the way, Homicide.
Funny enough,
there it is.
Last week, the New York Knicks, one of their big scouts, international scouts, gave me a buzz and asked me about Jae'Sean Tate. And I was just trying to find a comparison, an NBA player that I could, put him in comparison with. And, he's a workhorse like Draymond Green, but he can get buckets. You know what I mean? Like, there's no real position you put him in. Just put him out there. He's the height of a three, but because of his strength and athletic ability and his movements on the block, it's like a four. And he could, you play off him enough, he could shoot the three, but he's not really a guy you just put him at the three to just be a gun in the perimeter. So, he could just do so many different things. And because of his engine and the way he plays and his high energy, it makes up for his height.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, man, if you're thinking about bringing him in, that is a guy you bring in. He's one of my favorites last season. I got nothing but great things to say about that, man.
This is the thing about Jae'Sean Tate, is he's confusing. He's confusing. You're trying to assess him and you haven't watched a lot of him or over the course of a whole season. Like when he came in here and we're like, what are the Kings doing? Like, they needed someone bigger. But like he did it in college and he did it in Europe and he came in here and did it. And I'm telling you, he had a 10-day for the end of the season ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then coronavirus hit. He had considerable interest, I'm told, for end of season contracts. And he has, it's not just the Knicks, I'm telling you, it's a whole bunch of teams that are talking to his representatives. And it is a confusion that a lot of them are going, there's not a lot about this guy that says NBA from a physical standpoint. But when they talk to all the people that they trust who have had anything to do with him or have watched him over the course of the year, they say all the things that you
They're all saying the same things.
And a lot of teams are like, come on, we've got to get this guy a go.
Just put him on the court and we'll let him do what he does.
Yeah.
Just watch him go.
You know what? And that's what the Kings told us about 25 times in Tassie at the Blitz, and then we all got to see it almost from night one into it. All right, we're going to talk more free agents. We're going to talk some more news on the other side of this. But Conor Henry, of course, we know he's going to be here. He's going to be the head coach and new head coach of the Adelaide 36ers. And as he joins us, let's have a look, a little throwback to when he was working his way as a player towards his own NBA playing career.
Scouts from every NBA team had to be impressed by the gritty determination of Santa Barbara's Conor Henry, who was in a car accident only 2 days before this tournament began.
I was going to be here no matter what. In fact, the left eye was completely swollen shut yesterday, and I spent about 12 hours icing it just to get it down so I can see. And I can finally see now.
There it is, a little throwback. He ain't going to be playing, but he's going to be patrolling the sidelines, and it makes a lot of Adelaide 36ers fans and no doubt players very happy. I speak of Conor Henry, who is not yet back in the country, but not too far away from being a part of the 36ers organisation. As we welcome you into NBL Overtime, Conor, firstly, congratulations, mate. Welcome back to the league.
Thank you, fellas. I'm excited to be back. It's been a long time. I've been tracking the league for many years since I've left, and this opportunity came up, and over the course of a couple months, we got it done. So I couldn't be happier, more excited to get over there very soon.
Congrats, Coach. What are your thoughts on the Adelaide roster as it currently stands?
Well, I like the makeup that we have. We currently have 7 spots locked up. We have room for 4 more. Now we have the addition, the advantage of having that 11th man with Josh Giddey. So, look, we feel like we need another big to work with DJ and Obi, possibly 2. How does that play out? Can we go out and can we get another Australian in free agency? Or from overseas, who knows? All these scenarios we continue to look at. Is one of our bigs an import? A 4 or 5 to help protect DJ and the others inside that gives us some defensive rim protection and rebounding and then some additional toughness and size. So we could go that way, or we could go a 3, a small forward type position. We will definitely go with the US 1 or 1, let's say, whether that's a US guy or not. But we need to have another ball handler in mix. We've got Josh. We're excited to have Josh, but Josh is a young man. He's 18 years old, or almost 18 years old. And I want to be able to protect him as well. I don't want to have to turn the complete reins over to him initially, because there's a lot of grown men in the league that are going to be coming at him. And Josh is going to be up for it. Great kid, hard worker. He's excited. I talk to him once or twice a week. So we'll look to add a 1. We might be able to add another guard in that mix along with 2 bigs. I like the roster, as it sits right now, and I've got it pulled up here so I don't make any mistakes with the fellas. We're excited that look, I'm hoping Daniel Dillon, we can get Daniel back to a bigger role within the club. I've spoken to him about where I see him fitting in. He's in shape. He's always been in shape. Great body. Still got the motor. He's old now. And so I'm hoping and more mid him and production on both ends. And so excited there. Jack Mavay, he's going to play more 3-2 for us. And you guys are aware of, he's been doing some media lately and lifting and looking good and really working on his game. So we've got Daniel, we've got Jack, we've got Obi near the backup 4. Now Obi can guard 3, 4, 5 for us. Joey used him in that kind of role. I still see that same role for him. And then we've got Alex Madrunga under contract and Brendan Tees. So we've got some guards, some guys that can support us off the bench. Maybe they'll compete for starters minutes. Who knows? It just depends on how we build the roster around them. And then, as you know, we got the big guy. So spoke to the big guy yesterday. DJ's doing great, working out every day, looking fit, sounding good. He's excited to get to work. As are most of the guys. I've gotten good texts from guys throughout, these last couple of weeks, how they're working out and they're looking forward to officially get in the gym.
Coach, it's been a while since you've been in Australia coaching. How have you seen the league grow back then to what it's looking like right now?
Well, I think, when I was there before and understanding the league, even before I got there, and the ups and downs of having 14 teams, having a smaller number of teams, the ups and down growth of the league financially, and then having it kind of all finally stabilized when Larry came in and backed the whole league, a good TV contract. There just seemed to be more stability overall. The quality of play has always been at a high level. It's a fast, at that time it was more of a fast, sometimes undersized league overall. But now you've got, I think you've got more athleticism. You've always got the Australian toughness when it comes into the game. You've always got great shooters. And you've got a number of young bigs that have grown up now and are solid pieces to teams. So, and then you've still got the wily veterans in Bogut and some of the others that are still playing big parts. So it's grown. It's been fun to watch, and looking forward to being back on the sidelines.
I, for one, am impressed that Homicide didn't mention that he obviously played a decent part in that last game you coached in the country of Connor. So there you go. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't want to bring the personnel on the court.
You talk about it, Cam. You ask about it.
Who wants to stir the pot?
Hey, obviously this is a fairly generic question, but we're going through such a weird time around the world when it comes to coronavirus and the ability to be able to, one, get into Australia in different parts and do some travel and recruiting and scouting and all the rest of it. And you're, of course, in a situation where you're moving countries to join a professional league again, which you haven't seen for a little while. Have you found the whole, firstly, the interview process, the conversations, maybe the negotiations, have you found it compared to other jobs in the past where you've been able to have a chat about and take?
Well, it's definitely been a little different, as you reference, just the uncertainty of it all, and not being able to fully make plans. Like we were talking off the air about when I might be able to get over, and we're still focused, and we think July 1st is going to be the date. But and then so you don't really know exactly. Are we getting on a plane then, or is it a week later, or is the season going to start in December, or all these different variables that are being discussed and played out. It looks like we're finally going to have free agency coming up, so that's a good thing. I know that's been put back, I think, a couple times. So just the uncertainty, how it affects the daily lives of not only myself, with family around here, trying to get organized, make plans so they can come see me, when they can come see me, when is the season going to start, and then the same thing for you all there. When is the league going to start? Are there going to be fans in the stadiums? How that affects the financial health of the league, the sponsorships for each club. There's got to be some uncertainty there. Sponsorships want to sign on. They want to be a part of it. I think we're doing well in that. I think that the 36ers were doing well in that area. But again, you just never know. And we're going through the same thing here in the States as you guys follow. So I hear you all are starting up some sports soon, aren't you? Rugby's kicking off, and what else is kicking off?
So rugby league started last weekend, the NRL, and then the AFL starts in a week and a half. So no fans, but they're getting back on the pitches and fields respectively. So we'll see how it plays out. And hopefully it means, with the way that we've been going and banding together Australians and New Zealanders to make it a fairly safe or safer country when it comes to the spread of this virus. Hopefully we can continue to see us congregate at more sport, and we can get fans back through the gates, and the NBL starts sooner rather than later. Just quickly before I let Liam and Homicide get stuck into you, the Josh Giddey signing, as you did touch on, like Aussie next star, huge raps on him, but it must fill you with a great deal of confidence that he, after chatting to probably every club, he did choose the 36ers, which gives a suggestion that even without you signing on, when he signed on, the organisation must be fairly impressive when they're rolling through those chats and rolling him through and checking it all out.
Yeah, so you broke up a little bit there, but I think I follow you. So, a number of key things that happened with me in this process really stuck out with the organization. One was the signing of Josh and the pursuit of going after Josh, and how Grant and Jeff were able to get him to sign. I think there was lengthy discussions and a lot of work done with his parents and his dad, and they felt at the end of the day that Adelaide would be a good landing spot for him. And then, when Jeff started to call really a couple of months ago, and it was just Jeff's always checked in with me over the years, and he said, well, I might have something coming up, and that led to one conversation and then another conversation. And he asked me if I would have interest. And then it just so happened that I had just returned, I think, from Chicago to watch all the young top players from around the world compete in Chicago. And I watched Josh Giddey over the course of 3 days. And I was impressed with his size and his feel, his vision, the way he carried himself. Clearly you could see that there was something different about the kid. He has something that is not taught. It's just, you see it in a special type of person, is a special type of player. So interesting when talking with Jeff, his name came up, and then I realized I put two and two together, and I said, well, I just saw this kid, and I was impressed with him. So we're lucky to have him. We have big plans for him. Like I said earlier, he texts me, emails me. I've sent him already some video clips of the offense that he's looking at to see all the reads out of pick and roll and how we want to place some in the full court. So he's a switched on kid. He's driven. He wants to be great, and we're going to do everything we can to really make him a good player.
Hey, Coach, you spoke before about the remaining spots on the roster and what you'll be looking for. You spoke about the imports and how that could play out. Well, when you think about the other Aussies or New Zealanders or local players that you're going to be bringing in, are you thinking more, with Giddey and Madronya, Obi in only his second year in the league, you thinking more of like a veteran type status amongst those guys? I mean, guys like Todd Blanchfield, Ben Madgen, these guys are going to be free agents rather than a kid fresh out of college, considering what you've already got.
Flinny, is that a loaded question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I thought so. No, you're spot on. I mean, look, we have a young group. Overall, we have a young group. So other than Dylan and I'm not going to say DJ's young or old. DJ's just in his prime. So which helps me to sleep at night. No, we have to look at all the options. We're aware of some of the free agents that are out there, and there are some established players. So we'll look at those guys. They're on the board to consider. We're doing our homework. We're scouring Europe. We're scouring the current crop of free agents in the NBL, and we're looking at in the U.S. So it would be nice to add some established or veteran players to the mix. Now, is that at the 2 spot? Is that at the 3 spot? You know, you've got those spots open. But like I've said, really, we're gonna try to add a couple Australian players that I don't know that are established. Hopefully, that would lead you to believe that those are older players, but not necessarily. We've got our eyes on some young guys that we think have a bright future. Now, can we get in the mix? Can we pull that string and add to the roster? We'll see.
Now, I'm pretty sure you're going to have to get a veteran point guard that runs on the board to lead this team. How are you going to sell a quality import to get into this country?
Well, Homicide, I think, as you know, the quality of the league and the growth of the league over the last, however long you want to say, 5-6 years, how much it's grown. The reputation here in the States of the NBL is at the all-time high. And that's, even though, you know, all you old guys and you particularly and me and the guys that came before us and those great players that you competed against and they played and, you know, many years ago, those are some great teams and great players, but the level of notoriety has exploded around the world regarding the NBL. So all the agents know it. Most of the players know that there's high-level Europe and there's NBL. There's different levels, of course, in Europe. There's China, there's Russia, there's you know, the Italys, the Greeces, the Spains, and things like that. So if you are trying to go to an established country, an established league, where the finances make sense, the ownership of each team makes sense, 99% of the time. There's always, you know, there's always situations where sometimes teams get in trouble financially, but the league is solid. So we feel strongly that we can find a solid US1 to pair along Josh Giddey, to mentor Josh, to help him, to grow with him, to play with him, to play alongside with him, along with our other guards. So we don't think it's going to be a hard sell. We're down the track talking with quite a number of agents right now on point guards. It's our sense that the agents they're in the game, they're listening and everything, but they're also kind of waiting to see how Europe is playing out, how COVID-19 is going to shape the different leagues around the world. So, but we're confident we'll find a good lead guard, and then whoever our second import is, and like I said earlier, we'll see what position that is.
Liam, any last loaded questions before we let Connor go?
No.
Hey, Homicide, how bad did you get on us that last game? I can't even remember. I'm so old, my memory is. I just want to.
You can't remember.
Funny.
I need to remind him.
I know, right?
Hear you talk about it.
Nah, you know, I think that I always respected and valued your energy and what you've done and brought. I don't want you coming into this league talking about stuff a decade ago. Clean slate.
Good answer. Good answer. I really don't, believe me, I really don't want to talk about the past either. So let's get on with the future.
Hey, well, let's get on with it, because this Adelaide 36ers crew is going to be exciting. You know, while last year the results on court weren't that great, continual huge crowds, fans flocking to the new stadium as well, and people getting involved in the city of Adelaide. So looking forward to you being courtside, getting into the country first, being courtside with a young, exciting team. Of course, Josh Giddey, a huge part of that, mate. So good luck. Welcome. You're welcome back on NBL Overtime anytime you want, mate. Just put your hand up and come on in, and we look forward to seeing you in the flesh sometime soon.
Appreciate it, guys. You broke up right at that end there, but looking forward to seeing you all when I get in the country. Thanks again.
Peace.
The new
Thanks,
head coach
Coach.
to the Adelaide
Peace,
36ers, Connor Henry. And we did touch on Josh Giddey. He's a young superstar on the way up. Let's have a look at a little of the Aussie next star.
And some people are saying first-round pick potentially in the 2021 draft. 2 in a row for the 17-year-old. Giddey all the way to the basket and one. Giddey the basket and Giddey. What a pass to Froling inside and one. Hype is starting to build around his name, Josh Giddey.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We're excited. There's Connor Henry. There's Josh Giddey, all leading towards, I think a lot of it is around July 1 when free agency officially opens. Liam Santamaria, I know yesterday, June 1 was the club, the mutual, the options. We spoke about them last week. I want to ask you, I know fans are excited. They want to hear, but I want to see if you allow a grace period of 1 week because no club has announced anything yet. I'm asking you, and I know you got some stuff, I'm asking you to give them our own NBL Overtime grace period of 7 days before you drop the knowledge.
Okay. I don't think there's going to be any big surprises.
Okay.
No big surprise. We talked about it a bit last week.
Nope. Now we've lost you. See, this is what happens again, Homicide. You know what happens when he gets excited talking about signs and a little bit of buzz. And, you know, we're starting to get to that off season as we get towards free agency. He always kicks his microphone out. We got you back?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, good. I just gave you all the news.
Yeah, cool. I can't believe what you know. But I know there is some news getting around. Give us a little knowledge. What do you got?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting time because, you know, free agency still a month away. The options date yesterday, as you said. And so there are rules in place, right, about what teams can do, who they can speak to, who they can't. Obviously trying to re-sign their own guys from last year. But there are some people, some players, their representatives that they can be talking to. And there is definitely some moving and shaking in that regard. So some of them are the guys from other teams whose teams have given them permission to have those conversations. We know those two guys at the moment are from the Adelaide 36ers, Anthony Drimmick and Harry Froling. Now, we've spoken about Anthony Drimmick at length over the past few months and linking him towards the Brisbane Bullets. There's been word over the last few days that talks between the Bullets and Harry Froling are starting to heat up as well, which is very interesting. You look at their lineup. We've obviously talked about Will Magnay and what his future may or may not hold. They got Matt Hodgson in that front court as well. And boy, don't they have a contingent of Aussies when you look at Sobey and Glidden and Giddey, and then you throw Anthony Drimmick into that mix as well. So that's my word that over the last couple of days has been a little bit about Harry Froling linked towards the Bullets.
That's very interesting. It's just another big in the mix with Haji and Magnay. All right, I won't touch on what my thoughts are with that because it's way too early. But what I would love to see first day of free agency is Ty Webster and Fotu sign with New Zealand. That strengthens my theory and what I feel needs to happen for them to get to that'll punch their ticket right there to the grand final.
Just for people who may not be aware, if Matt Walsh and Shamir and the Breakers organization follow the Corey Homicide Williams blueprint, what happens?
You go to the grand final.
There it is.
And if you get Hobson, you win it. But if on the 1st of July, I would love to see New Zealand sign Fotu and Webster, one or both.
Just on Brisbane, just quickly, it links in. I'll ask you, Liam, because I think that with all these Australians, I don't think they're going to be able to fit 2 imports and keep everybody happy with only 1 ball and 40 minutes and a smaller roster. So you thinking, and New Zealand might be similar where they go with a large contingent of New Zealanders and maybe only the one import. Is that what you're thinking Brisbane might do? Yeah,
it seems to be looking that way from what I'm hearing. And, you could imagine a blueprint where they're saying, all right, well, we're trying to save money. And look, if we can get these local guys and fill out our roster of high-level players like that, we can put our resources into one impact guy, whether that be Lamar Patterson, Scotty Hobson, those types of guys. Another guy who is pretty hot property right now around the market is Mango Matiang. I watched at Summer League some years back and played really well in Turkey last year. There's a number of teams who, and I've heard Melbourne United linked to him as well.
Shout out to Mango. That's the homie.
Are pretty keen on him. He would be really great in this league, an awesome local recruit. The other guys that are of interest right now are the returning college players. And the top of that list is Jack White, right? The former Duke forward. He has already turned down a number of multi-year offers from teams across the NBL, including one team out west, which is very, very interesting. There's ongoing
one team out west.
And just for people who may not be aware, there is only one team out west.
Multi-years. There's not a lot of people who turn down multi-year offers from a franchise like that.
Liam, you know what that says? He signed somewhere.
Well,
what do you mean?
Ongoing interest from a number of teams.
Yeah.
Generally understood that Melbourne United are leading the race to sign that kid. We've seen him train with Melbourne United during the off-season over a number of the last couple of years. And look, there's a general perception of him from GMs and coaches around the league that he's not going to be like an impact scorer. We know that from watching him at COP, but he has the potential to grow into like a Damien Martin type guy within a franchise, like a captain, a leader, a guy that's going to help you win championships. So there's a lot of interest in him for sure. Another name I want to throw out there for returning college player, a kid called Kyron Galloway. So he's a 6'8" stretch 4. He's out of UNC Greensboro. Intriguing kind of skill set, length, athleticism, a mix of shot blocking and ability to shoot from range. This kid has an Aussie mum, an American dad. Both parents were ballers. His mum played in the WNBL for Townsville for a period of time. In fact, you can. Do you remember playing with his old man?
I played with the helicopter. He was a Harlem Globetrotter. He was above the rim and he was long. But I played, I reckon, about 10 games with his dad, Aaron, in about 04, 05.
Okay. So he hasn't really spent a lot of time in Australia, this kid, but played for the emerging Boomers, the Uniroos last year under Rob Beveridge. And I understand there's considerable interest in him, especially from the Breakers.
So he would be a local, obviously, and he would fit under the Liam Santa Maria rule of being able to find players who are eligible to play in Australia. Kendall Stevens situation where you might have shocked a few GMs by pointing him in that direction a couple of years ago.
Well, he's got an Aussie mum.
Yeah.
He's got an Aussie passport, dual citizen, I understand. So, as I said, wore the green and gold last year in that Uniroos team. So, I have heard him linked to the Breakers.
Okay. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Homicide. Anything else you want to see? We're heading towards July 1, of course. And this is obviously there's still some uncertainty. Of course, we did see the NBL release a statement in the last couple of days to say that the season will start once, the AFL and the NRL. And I think the clean air thing's a really good idea. We still don't know when that is. There's still so much uncertainty. But this is the type of stuff we love, being able to talk about the structuring of some rosters. Anything else you'd like to see over the next month or so?
No, I think we'll wait till next week to drop something little by little. No, I don't have anything to drop, but just things that, I would hope to see.
Okay. Lot going on. Anything else, Liam?
I'd like to see a few things.
Go on.
I'd like to see a few things happen but before July 1.
Oh.
I want to see Brisbane re-sign Lamar Patterson. I want to see New Zealand start to follow that blueprint, sign Scotty Hobson if they can get that done.
Man.
I want to see some movement at the Chris Golding station. See if Melbourne United or someone else can get that done.
Have you heard? Just on that, have you heard anything about Golding?
No. Have you?
No, this is...
You play golf with the man. What do you talk about on the...
You know what? Funnily enough, that when I started working on NBL Overtime, he just stopped talking basketball to me.
I'd like to see the Sydney Kings get a deal done with Jae'Sean Tate with an NBA out.
Yeah.
Similar to, I think, remember Cairns when they re-signed Scotty Wilbekin for that second year with the EuroLeague NBA outs. He didn't end up playing here, but I like that kind of deal where it says, like I think Perth got a deal like that done with Tariq White last year with certain outs to a certain date. In the end, he stayed with that team. So would love to see him back in the league next season if he's not in the NBA.
I want to see, and obviously Trevor Gleeson just touched on it briefly last week after the announcement of Bryce Cotton. And hey, let's try and work on this Nick Kay situation. I want to see Nick Kay and Chris Golding's the same sort of theory for me. Like these guys are boomers. They've been in the Australian team in the last 12 months. We're heading towards hopefully an Olympics in 2021, depending on how that plays out. But we need these guys, like for this league to stay as one of the best in the world. We need our high-level Australian players playing, be it Nick Kay, be it Chris Golding, of course, Xavier Cooks has been there in the periphery. Mitch Creek's obviously opted back in a month or so ago. So that's what I want to see as we head towards sort of the July 1 around that, to see those guys say, you know what, this is the best country in the world at the moment when it comes to health and safety. There might be bigger cash in a traditional sense because I've always thought that these guys are all going to stay. And I'm not downplaying their ability. I'm talking about Casper Ware, Bryce Cotton, Hodgson or, Xavier Cooks, whoever it might be. I'm not downplaying their ability to be able to get big cash and play in big leagues overseas. Not necessarily the NBA, but maybe. But I'm also like, this is the best place for them right now. And I think the league continues to go strength for strength if we keep guys like Nick Kay and Chris Golding in our backyard, making the league as good as it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy I want to flag is Ben Madgen, who I'm not expecting to see back in Southeast Melbourne next season. I understand he's back in New South Wales and, he's maybe weighing things up. Chris Pongrass, the Sydney Kings, Matt Campbell, the Illawarra Hawks. I know you don't have an owner right now, but I'd like to see, he's a guy who can help one of those teams in New South Wales next season.
Matt Campbell's the big one, I think, homicide. To be able to get Ben Madgen in, yet again, probably not going to be the 25 points a game scorer or the All-NBL first teamer he was a decade ago, but he's a type of guy too with his veteran leadership, his hard-nosed attitude towards the game that is going to help. You would think it's going to be a kind of young, possible inexperienced Illawarra Hawks unit.
There'll be an opportunity for him somewhere in New South Wales, that's for sure. He could definitely help Illawarra. Toddy Blanchfield was talking about, being a free agent, going somewhere else. So that can be a slot right there for him to fill in.
You hearing anything about backup point guards in Perth?
Backup point guards in Perth?
Yeah.
Why would they need a backup point guard in Perth?
Well, just in case Damien Martin does retire, they're going to probably...
Let me ask you something, right?
Over the top?
Let me ask you something.
Ask.
This is a whole lot of time for you to rest up, right? And become healthy. Mm-hmm. You have an opportunity to get number 7. It's kind of like the same thing with The Last Dance, right? You're next to Michael Jordan.
Yep.
You're just going to say, you know what? I don't want to play anymore. Mm-hmm. Would you do that?
I wouldn't. But Damien Martin's got a lot of other things on in life.
Neither is he.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's no way you have a chance to get number 7. You know what I'm saying? There's no chance. There's no way you walk away.
Okay. There's no. Okay.
Yeah.
I said this a while ago. I don't think we're gonna. I think we're gonna hear from Damien Martin at some point. I don't think he's gonna be playing, and we'll have a chance to celebrate him and his career at some point. Mm-hmm. I have heard some things about the Wildcats and some interest in some point guards that are around the traps. Maybe we'll talk about them in a little bit future. Yeah. I also think we're going to hear some pretty big stuff out of the Sydney Kings at some time pretty soon.
Ooh, all right. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. All thanks to LD Mobile. Huge week, of course. Speaking Sydney Kings, Sean Bruce going to join Adam Gibson on his podcast. NBL Rewind. We're talking to the general this week. We're going back. We're going to talk to Phil Smythe. Of course, grab your podcast as well, wherever you get your NBL or wherever you get any podcast, type in NBL podcast and it'll all come up. Boys, big show, plenty to get into. You starting to smash around. We'll see you next week.
Peace.